Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There you go. Oh my Lord, Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada. Canto 5, the creative impetus. Chapter 4, the characteristics of Rishabdev. Today's text is number 5, and mercifully, this is the last prose text. We're going to get back to nice, responsive poetry verses starting tomorrow. So I'm really happy about that. Okay. So, text 5. Vidita nuragam apurva prakriti janapado raja nabhir atmajam samaya setu rakshayam abhishitya brahmane Shu Panidhaya Saha Meru Devya Vishalayang Prasanna Nipunena Tapasa Samadhi Yogena Nara Yanakyam Bhagavantam Vasudevam Upasina Kalena Tan Mahimanang Avapa. Word for word, Vidita. Known very well. Anuragam. Popularity. Apaura Prakriti. Among all the citizens and government officers. Janapadaha. Desiring to serve the people in general. Raja. The king. Nabihi. Nabi. Atmajam. His son. Samayasetu Rakshayam. To protect the people strictly according to the Vedic principles of religious life. Abhishitya. Enthroning. Brahmaneshu. To the learned Brahmanas. Upanidhaya. Entrusting. Saha. With Meru Devya. His wife Meru Devi. Vishalayam. In Badarik Ashram. Prasannani Punena. Performed with great satisfaction and expertise. Tapasa. By austerities and penances. Samadhi Yogena. By full samadhi. Naranarayana Akyam. Named Naranarayan. Bhagavantam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudevam. Krishna. Upasinaha. Worshipping. Kalena. In due course of time. Tat Mahimanam. His glorious abode, the spiritual world. Vaikuntha. Avapa. Achieved. Okay, so translation. King Nabi understood that his son Rishabdev was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of the Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmanas, who would guide him in administering the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife, Meru Devi, went to Badarik Ashram in the Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Naranarayan, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Please repeat. King Nabi understood that his son, Rishabdev, was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace
give protection to the general populace.
In terms of the Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned brahmanas. Who would guide him in administering the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife, Meru Devi, went to Badarik Ashram in the Himalayan mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances, with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world, known as Vaikuntha. I just remembered I didn't bring one of my references. I wanted to bring, but yeah, I'm just going to figure out which book it is. Yeah, okay. Well, it's the third canto, 21st chapter, verse 56. So it's the second volume of the third. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. Okay, this is a full 2-page purport, so try to sustain attention. Kali Yuga, everybody's used to just phones. Purport. When Maharaj Nabi saw that his son Rishabdev was popular with the general populace and the governmental servants, he chose to install him on the imperial throne. In addition, he wanted to entrust his son into the hands of the learned Brahmins. There you go. Thanks. This means that a monarch was supposed to govern strictly according to Vedic principles under the guidance of learned Brahmanas, who could advise him according to the standard Vedic scriptures like Manusmriti and similar Shastras. It is the duty of the king to rule the citizens according to Vedic principles. According to Vedic principles, society is divided into 4 categories: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Chaturvanyang maya shristam guna karma vibhagashaha. After dividing society in this way, it is the king's duty to see that everyone executes Vedic principles according to his caste. A Brahmana must perform the duty of a Brahmana without cheating the public. It is not that one attains the name of a Brahmana without the qualifications. Remember that pastime, I think Prabhupada's in Philly. And Rabindra Sarup had brought Prabhupada a so-called professor of Hinduism. So I think, first of all, the conversation, maybe Prabhupada pointed it out, that teacher and cheater have the same letters, only they're rearranged. Right. So the Prabhupada starts off by saying, so what is Hinduism? There's an Indian man. Oh, I do not know. You do not know what is Hinduism? What is that called? What is that called? And who's? Yeah. So who? Yes, so Rup Damodar said that. Cheater. And so what is the punishment for a cheater? So the man says, I do not know. So then Prabhupada looked at Brahmananda, who Achyutananda Swami formerly once called an Hebraic Paul Bunyan.
Called what?
And Hebraic, he was Jewish buddy. Paul Bunyan, you know Paul Bunyan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Blue Ox. Yeah, Paul Bunyan was a big, he's Canadian.
Lumberjack.
Yeah,
Lumberjack, right.
Yeah, right. So Prabhupada looked at Brahmananda and said, you know, if I told Brahmananda, he could kill you.
I was getting ready.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Brahmananda was just waiting for the word, right? Cheating the public. It is not that one to change the name of a Brahmana without the qualifications. It is the king's duty to see that everyone engages in his occupational duty according to Vedic principles. In addition, so there's different, in the Gita, there's different qualities of a Brahmin and Kshatriya, and there's different activities listed for Vaishya and Shudra. So everybody has to be, it's not just enough to hang a shingle, out. Okay, so-and-so das, the Brahmana, resident Brahmana. You actually have to be practicing. And you have to have the qualities of it. What are the 6 duties of a Brahmin?
Keep Shastra.
Yeah. Patan, yajan, dana, pratigraha. So you study the Vedas and you teach the Vedas. You perform sacrifice, you teach how to do that. And what's the last one? Oh, you accept charity and you give charity. Yeah. You got to do it. Okay. In addition, retirement at the end of life is compulsory. Maharaj Nabi, although still a king, retired from family life and went with his wife to a place called Badarik Ashram. Cold up there. Himalayas. In the Himalayas, or the Himalayas, where the deity Narayana is worshipped. The words prasanna nipunena tapasa indicate that the king accepted all kinds of austerity very expertly and jubilantly. I mean, he used to be living in royal comfort, but he was trained as a brahmachari, right? So he knew he had a taste, he had a higher taste. Indicate that the king accepted all kinds of austerity very expertly and jubilantly. He did not at all mind leaving his comfortable life at home, although he was the emperor. Despite undergoing severe austerities and penances, he felt very pleased at Badarik Ashram, and he did everything there expertly. In this way, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, Samadhi Yoga, although always thinking of Krishna, Vasudev, Maharaj Nabi attained success at the end of his life and was promoted to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka. This is the way of Vedic life. One must stop the process of repeated birth and death and return home back to Godhead. The words Tan Mahimanam Avapa are significant in this regard. Now Prabhupada is going to quote different acharyas. Srila Sridhar Swami says that Mahima means liberation in this life. We should act in such a way in this life that after giving up this body, we will become liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This is called Jivan Mukti. And then Prabhupada quotes another acharya, whose commentaries he would consult. Srila Viraraghava Acharya states that in the Chandogya Upanishad, there are 8 symptoms of a Jivan Mukta, a person who is already liberated even when living in this body. The first symptom of one so liberated is that he is freed from all sinful activity. Apahata papa. As long as one is under the clutches of Maya and the material energy, one has to engage in sinful activity. Bhagavad Gita describes such people as dushkritinaha, which indicates that they are always engaged in sinful activity. One who is liberated in this life does not commit any sinful activities. Sinful activity involves illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Another symptom of a liberated person is vijara, which indicates that he is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Wow. Another symptom is vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take on any more material bodies, which are destined to die. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeat birth and death. Another symptom is vishok, which indicates that he is callous to material distress and happiness. Another is vijigatsa, which indicates that he no longer desires material enjoyment. Another symptom is apipata, which means that he has no desire other than to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, his dear most pursuable Lord. So these are all symptoms of liberated souls. A further symptom is satyakama, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the supreme truth, Krishna. He does not want anything else. He is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna. First of all, he does not desire anything for his material benefit. And secondly, if he desires anything at all, he simply desires to serve the Supreme Lord. That desire is fulfilled by the Lord's grace. That is called Satya Sankalpa. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word Mahima means returning to the spiritual world, back home, back to Vaikuntha. Sri Shukadev Goswami says that the word Mahima means that the devotee attains the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Saddharma, or the same quality. Just as Krishna is never born and never dies, his devotees who return to Godhead never die and never take birth within the material world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, what do my notes say? So today's today's verse, 545. Oh, by the way, happy Earth Day, everybody. Remember Earth Day. It's funny, the BBT put it on the calendar. It's not Easter, it's Earth Day. Today's verse gives chapter 4's early verses its headline. So the first, I think, 7 or 8 verses, what's going on is King Nabi is abdicating his throne. He's giving up his throne. Wow. Can you imagine? I mean, the one currently on the throne in the Oval is scheming how we can run again in 2028, even though it's a constitutional amendment. You can't do that. After FDR was elected for the 4th time in 44, then people decided, I think Truman was pushing this, and he succeeded him after FDR died. This is too long for any person. So they made it an amendment, and it was bipartisan. It was overwhelmingly passed. Okay. So how was King Nabi able to do this? Give up and, just give up his royal lifestyle and, power. As we said in a previous class, the ultimate intoxication is power. And so how was one able to do this? Well, he was God conscious. He felt himself a servant, not clinging to power like modern secular leaders. I mean, this is going on everywhere, right? Going on in Russia. The guy in Hungary tried to, but he was so corrupt that the people finally voted him out. Yeah, people just, they want to cling to power, like modern secular leaders, because there's no higher purpose, higher value in life than that taste of power. That's their, whereas a God conscious leader, his higher taste is serving God. Plus, King Nabi was not envious. He had prayed to have a son like the Lord, who was pleased to become his son. So when King Nabi saw that people loved his son, he didn't resent that. He didn't say, what is this? I mean, anybody who's a little sane anyway, a father likes to see the son surpass him, right? He's very pleased. When he saw people loved his son, he didn't resent that, but installed him as the emperor of the world. And he wasn't even really mature yet. So what did he do? He entrusted his son, Rishabhadev, to the Brahmin priests. And those same priests, those are the ones that had prayed to the Lord to give King Nabi a son who would guide those priests would guide Rishabdev in administering the government, Prabhupada said. So this, as soon as I read that, it reminded me of a real nice verse in purport in the third canto, which I had Kirtaneshwara fetch me, about the reciprocal relationship between Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Because the Brahmins are advising Rishabdev, although he doesn't need it because he's an incarnation of God, but he's showing the model of how it's supposed to work. That the Kshatriya should take guidance from the Brahmin. And in Bhagavatam 3:21-56 verse in purport, there's actually a word for this sweet relationship between Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Okay, I marked it, but I didn't bring the book. All right, I'm just going to read. Now, here's the context. This isn't it. Where am I? 3:21-56. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I do have it, but it's not in the right place. Yeah, the wrong place. That's from another class. Okay. Okay. So, it's the last. Yeah. Okay. So the context is that Karda Muni is receiving Swayambhuva Manu. So Karda Muni is the Brahmin, and Swayambhuva Manu is the Kshatriya. What did you say in the previous verse? Oh, he's praising Manu. He says, if you gave up all thought of the world's situation, unrighteousness would flourish. For men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack and the world would perish. So he's praising what Manu does. In spite of all this, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here. And he actually knows. He's come here to give Kardam his daughter in marriage, Devahuti. Okay. Whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation, because he wants to be married so he can propagate. He's a Prajapati. Purport. So here's the relationship between the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. When a guest comes to a friend's house, it is understood that there is some special purpose. Karda Muni could understand that such a great king as Swayambhuva, although traveling to inspect the condition of his kingdom, so he was out and about, just making sure everything is right, must have had some special purpose to come to his hermitage, because he's just stopping at this little out of the way, place in the forest at a sage's hermitage. Thus, he prepared himself to fulfill the king's desire. Formerly, it was customary that the sages used to go to the kings, and the kings used to visit the sages in their hermitages. So, because the sages' business is to advise the kings, as the kings, they execute the values and the wisdom that they're receiving from the Brahmins. They're executives. Each was glad to fulfill the other's purpose. So this reciprocal relationship, because here's the phrase, it's called bhakti karya. It's this reciprocal relationship between the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, bhakti karya. There is a nice verse describing the relationship of mutual beneficial interest between the Brahmana and the Kshatriya. Chatrang vijatvam. Chatrang means the royal order, and vijatvam means the Brahminical order. The two were meant for mutual interest. The royal order would give protection to the Brahmins for the cultivation of spiritual advancement in society, and the Brahmins would give their valuable instruction to the royal order on how the state and the citizens can gradually be elevated to spiritual perfection. So this all worked because they had the same values, going back home, back to Godhead. But to do that, to scale, on a mass scale, you need different people doing different things according to their nature. So the Brahmins, they were studying, and then they were practicing austerity, and they were tuned into the purpose of life. And the Kshatriyas, they had to protect the citizens, and including the Brahmins, who were not, big martial arts guys or muscle men. So they had to be protected. And the Brahmins had to protect the Kshatriyas from letting power go to their heads, right? So they had to advise them. Okay, so that's Bhakti Karya, and the next chapter was the marriage of Kardamuni and Devahuti. Okay, so, Oops, it's the wrong page. Yeah, okay. They had a common interest, serving Krishna. And that common interest provides the unity and precludes any envy that plagues materialistic society. In materialistic society, everybody's envious because everybody's trying to be the center, the supreme. Yeah. Now, owing to his God-conscious, non-envious nature, King Nabi happily retired to Badarik Ashram in the Himalayas, to practice austerities with wife Meru Devi and worship the Lord in another form. He'd already been worshiping the Lord, right? As Rishabdev, he got the Lord as his son, incarnation of the Lord. So now he went with Meru Devi up to the Himalayas. And what form was he worshiping? Narayan Rishi. Yes, and was promoted. And after doing that, he was promoted to the spiritual world. So they prepared themselves. We just had Devaki Mataji, and she had that book, I got it, Vanaprastha. So it's all about, what's the subtitle? Something about dying. Meeting death with joy. For the materialist, it's like, no, the end. But it's like, oh no, this is simply another transition. So, so these are Kshatriya and his wife, Nabi and Meru Devi. So Kshatriyas don't take sannyas, but they prepare. This is really intense, heavy duty, Vedic Vanaprastha. They go to the Himalayas and doing penance and austerities happily after living in the lap of, royal luxury, because they were already trained before then, about the purpose of life and how to be self-controlled and Yeah. So further down in the purport, Prabhupada references symptoms of Jivan Mukti, liberated person, which calls to mind famous verse, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anybody know this?
I know what verse you're going to quote, but I don't understand.
Yeah.
When who engages in full devotion, so
Yes.
they should be liberated. So,
Right. Iha yasya harer dasya. Karmana, by the body, manasa, mind, gira, words. Karmana, manasa, gira, nikilas, vapyavastasu, jivan muktaksa uchyate. One who engages, this is Prabhupada's translation to Rupa Goswami's 1-187. One who engages in the transcendental service of the Lord in body, mind, and word is to be considered liberated in all conditions of material existence. So that's a liberated soul. Body, mind, and words, serving Krishna. Now, so Prabhupada in that purport, he cited Vira Raghavacharya, who identifies 8 symptoms of a liberated soul. So I have a note to myself, reread those symptoms and be humbled. All right, here it is. This shows me that I am still in the bodily concept of life. 8 symptoms. All right. Ooh. All right. Yeah. The first symptom of one so liberated is that he is freed from all sinful activity. Well, I mean, we took those vows at initiation, but there's many layers to those vows. No intoxication. So if I think I'm this body, I'm intoxicated because I'm in illusion. What happens when you take intoxication? You get more. It's an illusion upon an illusion, right?
also, it's like the positives of it, like truthfulness. Like, you don't gamble, but if we're not truthful, then we're still breaking.
Prabhupada,
All those things, but then you're being shady.
yeah, no gambling. Some initiations, he would say, or mental speculation, he would say that. So, am I speculating sometimes? No illicit sex. Okay, there's 8 kinds of illicit sex, but I don't remember them all. Do you?
Or what I'm talking about.
Okay. Right. So, if I'm still, my mind is still two-timing it.
Talking with women.
Yeah, thinking about, yeah,
Seeing women. Having sex with women.
right. You're looking at a convicted hugger. So, but I learned a real good lesson. Yeah, okay. The first is, as long as one is, okay. Jivan Mukta. Okay. Yes, okay, sinful activities. So sinful activities involves illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. So yesterday we ate at a place where they also serve meat. We didn't order it, but we were in that place, and I didn't want to, rain on our parade, as they say. But Papa talks about you shouldn't even eat in restaurants that,
Which restaurant?
true food. It's way up in the Himalayas of Tucson. It's up in Oro Valley. Up Campbell, straight up Campbell, you go right into it. It's in a mall, Yeah, so he talks about when because he talks about how sinful activities, it's like, they're contagious. Just by being near them, you get contaminated. Yeah, whoa. Okay, another symptom of a liberated person is vijara, which indicates that he is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Now, wait a minute. I mean, Prabhupada did appear to be subjected to the miseries of old age. I mean, he was on his disappearance bed for so many months, and So, but what was he doing on that bed? He's doing devotional service. He was still dictating the Bhagavatam when he could barely had the end. You couldn't even hear him. He had to put the mic up to his mouth so he could whisper that last chapter's purports. Not subjected to the miseries of old age. Another symptom is Vinrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take on any more material bodies. Yeah. So the opposite of that is, what's that verse? Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma, or fruit of activities. That's when Krishna starts answering Arjuna's questions at the end of the 7th chapter. I forget the verse now, but that's one of the. So if we're not acting in a way that's furthering the bodily concept of life, but we're acting in such if we're serving Krishna, then we're preparing a spiritual body. Any more material bodies which are destined to die. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeat birth and death. Another symptom is vishok, which indicates that he is callous to material distress and happiness. I just wrote a tribute for the tributes book, the Prabhupada tributes. So I talked about, I did the whole tribute to what happened this year when I visited his places of early pastimes in Calcutta from Newtown. So so usually I just land in Subhash Bose, Netaji International Airport, and then I taxi straight up to Mayapur. But this year I stayed for 9 days in Newtown, so I could give Founder Acharya classes. I did half of them, and then that was in the morning, and in the afternoon they take me around to the pastime places. So in the beginning of the offering, I said, usually I just sit in the airport until it's light, and then I taxi up when it's light. When it's you don't want to taxi up in the dark because it's hairy enough sitting in a taxi in India. It's crazy, driving so fast. Please blow horn. Awaz do.
All the trucks say Wazoo.
Please blow your horn.
You should blow your horn.
Because if you don't blow your horn, I won't see you, and I'm going to run you. It's going to be crazy. So anyway, so I recovered from my jet lag in Newtown. But Prabhupada, he traveled around the world 14 times in 12 years. He didn't even, he must have felt it, but he didn't, he just instantly adapted to wherever he was. Okay, it's midnight, it's time to start translating. It's 6 a.m., it's time for a morning walk. It's 6 p.m., it's time to receive guests. He just, boom, that's like, takes me a week to recover, to get my, what do you call it, those circadian rhythms back. Yeah, but Prabhupada, he just kept going. Sacrificing his body in the altar of Sankirtan Yoga. Yeah. Okay, so, all right. Anyway, I'm humbled. I'll go back.
I missed the hardest one.
Huh?
I missed the hardest one.
Where is it?
When it says
Back home, back to God?
free of desires for sense gratification.
Okay, a further symptom is satyakam, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the supreme truth, Krishna. He does not want anything else. He is satya sankalpa. whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna, because he just desires to serve Krishna. Giriraj, Maharaj, in a book, he noted that when Prabhupada came to Boston, they were driving in Boston. Anybody ever drive in Boston? There's even a song about it. They never return, no, they never return. Da, 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 da. They drove forever through the streets of Boston. Da, 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 they never return. I forget this. Remember that? Yeah, they never return. It's hellish driving in Boston. Anyway, so Giriraj noticed that when they picked up Prabhupada from the airport, all the lights became green. They just hit everything right, and that was just symbolic to him of how, whatever you want to do, because all you want to do is serve Krishna, then Krishna makes the arrangements. Whereas if I'm trying to do something for sense gratification, Krishna doesn't want me to do that, so he'll make it. Or even if he wants to, if you're not a pure liberated soul, we're going to have to endeavor so hard to do anything, even for service. Okay, so that's hard to do. It takes practice, takes time, takes a whole life. Okay, so now we're going to look at, let's see. Yeah, okay, this is the last part. As much as Prabhupada spoke and wrote about the importance of Vedic kings and how they upheld the Varnashram system of life, he would also say, and here is a direct quote, monarchy is out of date now, unquote, because no one is qualified to be a saintly king, and thus he encouraged the devotees to govern themselves democratically at both the local and the global levels. So for the local level, if you want to see how Prabhupada encouraged the devotees in New Vrindavan to govern themselves, you go to in the Veda, if you have the Bhaktivedanta Vedabase, it's June 9th, 1969, Prabhupada's first visit to New Vrindavan. They got the place in 68. Hayagriva and Kirtanananda. And they were the founders of New Vrindavan, but there was friction between the two. So it was a real nice, Prabhupada came in the last week of May and he stayed, I think 5 or 6 weeks. He loved it. I haven't had milk like this in, 50 years, he said about Kaliya's milk. Kaliya, protected cow. And she was a Jersey. And she gave Jerseys are famous for rich milk. So, anyway, but it was great that Prabhupada was there. But then they also were having trouble because Kirtanananda and Hayagriva were button heads over who was in charge. Right? So, so Hayagriva is a householder, married to Shamadasi, and Kirtanananda is the sannyasi. So there's many aspects to the conversation, but I'll just tell you that Prabhupada said, you should govern yourselves democratically. And so Hayagriva goes, but that's democracy. You said democracy was bad. And Prabhupada said, yes, if you're a demon, because you're just going to ruin everything. It's like people who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses are going to elect the biggest dog, hog, camels, and ass, right? But you're devotees. And I mean, the oldest devotee there was 3 years a devotee, but you're devotees, so you can govern yourselves democratically. So then still, Hayagriva and Kirtananda, were wondering how it was going to work. And so here's how Prabhupada solved it. Because he saw both of them wanted to be in charge. Because they were both kind of heavy personalities. So he said, well, and the whole time Prabhupada's laughing. He's like chuckling. He's seeing that his immature disciples are just, butting heads. So he's laughing. He's like little kids. You're acting like little kids, even though they were older, So he said, Maharaj, Kirtananda Maharaj, you're a sannyasi. So you should travel. Like we know you go to Ohio. He had just been in Ohio State for that program in Judson Auditorium, where we got 22,000 people to chant and dance. And Allen Ginsberg was there. So he said, you should go to Ohio State. And I know there's many universities. You should go amongst the university and you should recruit. You should inspire the students, because I know the students have this, it was part of the counterculture, was back to the land. So you should say, well, we have a spiritual community in West Virginia, and you should interest them and bring them to the community. So you should be traveling 3 weeks out of a month. And while you're gone, Hayagriva, he's the householder. He's the senior devotee. He will be, and there was mainly householders there. I think they were all householders. Yeah, Narayan and his wife, and Hayagriva and Shabadasi, Parmananda Satyabhama, Adipati and Prachi, they were all householders. So you, and so Hayagriva, you're the senior householder, he was one of the first devotees. So you be in charge. And then when Kirtananda Maharaj comes back, you should listen to his wisdom from preaching and step back and let him. So he let them be co-leaders. That was his, but for the day-to-day business, if you have issues, you should take a vote. You should take a vote, and the majority rules. And Prabhupada did this with the GBC, right? And Prabhupada showed them how to do it. He was attend GBC meetings, and then there was a proposal, and then there was the vote. And then people didn't put their hands up until they saw how Prabhupada was going to vote, because they knew Prabhupada was going to have the last word, right? And then when Prabhupada put his hand up, everybody would laugh, because they knew he had the last word. And so Prabhupada said, no, I am also a member of the GBC. This is not a personality call. He was training them, for how it's going to be when he would leave. Everybody's a member here. And you have, what do they have? They have an EC now. They have an executive committee. But everybody has a vote. So amongst the Vaishnava, this is how we govern. Okay, it's getting close to the end. It's too long to read that verse, but it's all about King Nabi giving up the throne, giving it to Rishabh Dev, and then he and his wife happily going to the Himalayas. Prabhu, question.
One comment, one question. So my comment is just that it's interesting. This false ego is like we're talking about how Emperor Nabi was so detached. He was able to give up his identity as being the king, as being this, but even as, at least myself, even as devotees, we become attached to our identity. Oh, I'm a brahmachari, or I'm a this, I'm a that. We become attached to this identity. And then, when you really analyze, and I've been kind of doing a lot of that, just how much what I'm doing is just for false ego and how much what I'm doing is for pure devotional service. It's quite incredible how little pure devotional service is actually there. And so I just comment and.
But
question.
you're aware of it. See,
that's what Amaji said. First, you become aware of it. That's the first step in.
We, as non-devotees, we're so unconscious that that's false ego is just like natural. But go ahead.
The question is, Prabhupada gave us this system of the GBC, but we see so many challenges with that system, especially today, this voting system. Even in our own country, we're seeing how this system is really challenged. So it seems like we use the system, but it seems there's a lot of disrespect for what the individuals are actually saying. If we actually were respecting, that was the vote. I was just wondering if you can comment on that. I know you're pretty insightful in that matter.
disrespectful of, you mean of a
Of
citizen?
the GBC, as an ISKCON, people are always criticizing the GBC for this and for that.
Because they're recognizing what the assembled devotees want, you're saying, or,
No, I'm just saying it just seems like there's a lot of tension between leadership and people.
GBCs.
Yeah,
Amongst
And
GBCs.
amongst GBCs and amongst individuals that aren't GBCs, the leaders, and it just seems like, Prabhupada gave us the system. Why isn't it working nicely?
Well, that's a real wake-up call, isn't it? That's why Prabhupada said in a letter to Kirtananda Maharaj, October 1973, because Kirtananda had written Prabhupada, that there's dissension among the ranks. Ooh, confirmed by AI. There's dissension among the ranks. And Prabhupada said, this is natural. This is dissension among the ranks. This is, as soon as you have two people, you're going to have different ideas. There's going to be tension. There's going to be conflict. So therefore, there were so many things. But if we keep Krishna in the center, then we have a chance of having harmonious relationships. And then he said, therefore, I am asking every one of you, every year, he said, every year, when you go to Mayapur, I'm asking all leaders, all GBCs, go to Mayapur and you discuss what? You remember? How to make, he said, unity in diversity. So the unity is that we're all trying to serve Prabhupada and Krishna. We're all trying to become devotees of Krishna. We're all practicing devotional service. The diversity is that there's many ways to do this. There's many ways to do this. And so it's not that there's only one way. Unity without diversity, I said this in a recent Sabha chat, is what? You have unity without diversity? What is that called in governance? Yeah, tyranny, totalitarianism. And diversity without unity is what? Anarchy. Exactly. So unity and diversity, this is the formula to have harmony. And it's only possible when we're trying to be devotees of Krishna. And if somebody has a different idea of how to serve, then if it's really, and this is also in 430, when the famous verse in purport about how, the Prachetas, and that purport where Prabhupada talks about how there's even with conflict in the spiritual society or something. I forget how that goes. 430 something. Yeah. So, we have to learn how to be respectful of each other as devotees and not immediately impute nefarious motives. You're just in it for the money, or you're just in it for the whatever you think. No, we're all here actually to serve Krishna, but we have different ideas. You have a follow-up to that?
There's a comment that I believe that seems like it's so beautifully said. But what I see is that when we have the diversity, immediately someone attacks the diversity. Like we have, just as an example, there's individuals who feel like, we shouldn't wear dhotis and kurtas. There's individuals that feel we should only wear dhotis and kurtas. And I think it's fine either way. If you want to only wear a dhoti and kurta, fine, and they're successful, and the individuals are successful. But the problem is that they attack each other rather than just expressing, they're also devotees, they're chanting 16 rounds and following principles, they're chanting 16 rounds and following principles. Instead, we say, they're wrong, they're deviating.
Yeah.
In this way,
yes.
We don't see the unity.
That's right.
We attack diversity.
Therefore, when I talk about this in my Founder Acharya seminars, lesson 8 is called To Love is to Cooperate. And so I talk about this, and it comes down to unity and diversity. And then I say, and then I raise a question, just like you said, that people attack, and it's still we can't agree. So, and what's a principle and what's a detail? What's something you can't change, and what's something that's adjustable? So I say, unify or unite around principles, diversify the details. And then you have to really it's no small thing to know what's an unchangeable principle and what's a adjustable detail. And then I go to a conversation between Chudakirti and Prabhupada, October 11th, 1972 in Manila, in the Philippines. Now,
Manila's in Spain, isn't it?
no, Manila, not Avila. Avila, what are you thinking? Manila, Philippines, capital of the Philippines. So anyway, okay, we're getting over now. All right, this is real quick. So Prabhupada had just had been traveling with Chudakirti for 7 months. And in March, Prabhupada had laid the cornerstone for Anantashesh. He put Anantashesh in the ground for the Mayapur project. And the Godbrothers came and they had criticisms. Number one, you're letting men and women serve in the same temples. This is scandalous. It's fire and butter. You know, you put the butter too close to the fire, there's going to be scandals. And number two, you're letting them call you Prabhupada. This is only for, Bhakti Siddhanta. And so anyway, Prabhupada had answers for them. And then 7 months later, they're in Manila. And Prabhupada had a habit of doing this. He would pick up a conversation that he started months earlier. And he said, he just said to Chudakirti out of the blue, my godbrothers criticized me. And Chudakirti is behind him, massaging him. That I have let women live in the temples. But because I made this adjustment, to him, Prabhupada, it was a detail. It was a detail. Because I made this adjustment, I have become successful. He attributed his whole success to allowing men and women to live and serve together in the same communities. So then Chudakirti said, when he's thinking, he says this in his book. What's the name of the book?
Hare Krishna. What is the difficulty?
What is the difficulty? Yeah. He says, Srila Prabhupada, what's the difference between a principle? How do I know? What is it? How do I know if I'm adjusting a detail or if I'm not changing a principle? You know what I mean? That idea. So Prabhupada didn't say anything, and he was facing the wall. He couldn't see Prabhupada's face. Prabhupada just kept saying, And then finally, Prabhupada said, that takes a little intelligence. So it's no small thing to know the difference between a principle and a detail, and higher and lower principles. On that note, we have to observe the principle of taking only Krishna Prasad. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.